Third component in terms of our checklist for your exercise programming would be the number of repetitions. Now I have a rule, and the rule is that all of my beginners, regardless of their goal, would start doing somewhere between 10 and 15 repetitions for their resistance training component. The reason being is that regardless of your goal, if we look at the overload principle, if someone goes from no overload, i.e. they haven't been training, to some overload, they're going to get an improvement. So if you're doing a 10 to 15 rep range, I'd put it to you that if you've been doing nothing, you would certainly get stronger in that range, you'd certainly increase your muscular endurance, and you would give a stimulus for hypertrophy as well. Now the reason that I do like the 10 to 15 initially as well is that it allows the load to be moderate, meaning that if you can do at least 10 repetitions, the weight's not so heavy that you are likely to lose technique and hurt yourself because that load is too much for you. And by the same token, if you're stopping at the 15 reps, you're not doing so many reps, i.e. you're not doing 30 or 40, where your technique's likely to break down because of fatigue. So therefore, 10 to 15, I really like for all goals in the initial stages. Now, once someone has gone beyond the initial stages of training, and this will depend on the person, but a rough rule of thumb, maybe 3 to 6 months, we can then branch to a more specific rep range for different goals. And they would be, for a strength goal, would be somewhere between 1 and 6 repetitions. So if you can't do at least 1, the weight's too heavy. Once you can do a little bit more than, or you can do more than 6, we're starting to get a relationship between the mechanical stress, or how much weight that we're using, and the time the muscle's spending under tension, so how many repetitions we're doing, we're getting that a little bit out of whack. So ideally, strength things, fast twitch muscle fibre, heavy things, small amount of repetitions, somewhere between 1 and 6. If power was a goal, and the key element with a power goal would be a speed element, again the repetition range, like our strength things, would be between 1 and 6. The key difference is that the weight, although it may still be heavy, has to be light enough that the person can propel it with a degree of speed. So if you've ever seen an Olympic weightlifter, that would be a great example of this. So repetition range for power, between 1 and 6. So again, if you can't do at least 1, the weight's too heavy. If you can do more than 6, it's probably a bit light for that goal. Key thing, you've got to be able to propel the weight quickly. If we look at a muscular endurance goal next, so muscular endurance is all about the muscles staying fatigue resistant. We'd be looking somewhere between 15 and 30 reps. So again, what that means in English is if you can't do at least 15, the weight is too heavy for you. If you can do more than 30, it's too light. So the idea here is we're attacking our slower twitch muscle fibres. We're trying to make these things more fatigue resistant. And the analogy I often use in terms of why you might work on your endurance is, if you're a rock climber, for example, I don't think you want to be finding out 3/4 of the way up a cliff face that you can't finish off. Or if you're a netballer or a footballer, that you can't run a game out. So muscular endurance, in terms of our repetition range, somewhere between 15 and 30. If the weight is allowing you to do more than 30, as we said, it's too light, meaning that you might almost be better off just concentrating purely on aerobic work if the weight's getting ridiculously light. And sometimes I use the example of bicep curling a pen. Could probably do 1,000 reps of that. I don't think it's doing me a whole lot of good. So it's finding a basic happy medium between the load and the time the muscle's spending under tension. Now hypertrophy is the one that causes all the controversy, so that people that want to get bigger, I'd put to you that an optimum rep range for hypertrophy is somewhere between 6 and 20. And so again, what we're saying is if you can't do at least 6 reps, the weight's too heavy. We're not spending enough time under tension for that to be optimal. And vice versa, if you can do more than 20, it's too light. So again, the other thing that sometimes comes up is if you just say, look, turn up to the gym and do anywhere between 6 and 20 depending on how you're feeling, I don't think that that's specific enough. So we'll often break that into smaller subsets. So if you're really looking to recruit and exhaust faster twitch fibre for hypertrophy, you're looking at a rep range of 6 to 8 being very appropriate. If you're looking at more the slower twitch fibre, you're looking at maybe 15 to 30, and a happy medium might be between, say, 8 and 12. So you can play with all the different repetition ranges. How it's often done is that you might have one of two scenarios. Scenario one could be Monday, you rock up and that's your heavy day. There's somewhere between 6 and 8. Wednesday might be a medium day, perhaps you do somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 on that day. And Friday might be a light day where you're working between, say, 15 and 20 reps. Or you could choose to specialise in each of those rep ranges for a given month. So for example, we might do 6 to 8 in April, we might do 10 to 15 in May, and we might look at 15 to 20 in June. So a few things to consider on the hypertrophy front.